How yous all doing? After a long hiatus, the wino is back with my betting tips for UFC 284. One of the biggest fights in history, definitely the biggest Australian fight in history. How do I see this card going? Well, this video should be pretty short because I'm not seeing a whole lot of value along the card, but I'm seeing huge value in the main event. And of course, that's where we're going to start. Alexander Volkanovski versus Islam Makhachev. Volkanovski is at 390. Let that sink in. 390. Is that not insane to anyone else? I've watched other betting, tipping shows and stuff and they go, oh yeah, the line's about right. What are you talking about? That's insane. If Volkanovski was fighting Francis Ngannou at 390, I'd be putting money down on him. 390 for Alexander Volkanovski. You've seen what he's done throughout his entire career. How can you put anyone that far above him? I understand Islam being a favourite. Honestly, I think it's around a pick'em and I'm leaning to Volk, and I'll go into my reasons why. But because of the mentality of, you know, people betting, and that's where the betting line goes, I understand Islam being a favourite. But Volk should be at $2 something. I mean, Emmett is at, what's Emmett at? Emmett is at 253 against Rodriguez. Like, if you think Emmett has a better chance of beating Rodriguez than Volkanovski has a better chance of beating Islam, well, what are we talking about here? Put your money on Volkanovski. I'm saying it right now. Because even if he loses, yeah, you'll lose money, but it's a good value bet. That's what you're looking for in betting markets. Everyone says Volk's never fought a wrestler like Islam. True. That's entirely true. But that doesn't mean Islam's just going to take him down and dominate him. That means we don't know what's going to happen. Nobody else has been able to hold Volkanovski down. Chad Mendes took him down twice, he popped straight back up. Ortega knocked him down once, took him down once, and he didn't pop straight back up, but he swept him and pounded the shit out of him in both of those rounds. No one has been able to handle Volkanovski yet. No one has been able to hold him down. And I know Islam is a better wrestler than both of those people. I know Islam's the best wrestler that Volkanovski's ever come up against. But Volkanovski is the best fighter Islam has ever come up against. I don't know if Islam's the best fighter that Volkanovski's come up against because he hasn't done enough to show it. The only truly great person who's beaten is Charles Oliveira. And Charles Oliveira, as good as he is, has huge holes in his defense, both in his striking and his grappling. Everyone's like, oh, he's got the most submissions in UFC history, so his grappling's amazing. Oh, Islam is a superhuman for subbing him. Look throughout Oliveira's history. For a black belt of his of his caliber, his submissions aren't, I mean, his submissions are great. Whoop, almost misspoke. His submission defense isn't fantastic. Anthony Pettis and Ricardo Lamas submitted him with guillotine chokes. Paul Felder, like, I know that Oliveira hasn't been submitted on this lightweight run he's been on since he came back from featherweight. Started at lightweight, went to featherweight, came back to lightweight. He hasn't been submitted again since until Islam did it. But Paul Felder knocked him out with elbows from inside his guard. He's got problems with his defense. And Islam knocking him down, Charles got knocked down in every single one of his title fights. Chandler knocked him down. Gaethje knocked him down. Poirier knocked him down. Then Islam knocks him down and everyone's like, Islam's the best in the world. Dude, Islam's good, but Volk has proven so much more. And like I said, no one has been able to hold Volk down. And what people are forgetting is when Volk came into the UFC, he was known as a wrestler up until he fought Chad Mendes. Even though he didn't do a huge amount of wrestling in the Darren Elkins fight, up until he fought Chad Mendes, he was still seen as a wrestler boxer. Actually, beyond that, because he went into the Chad Mendes fight it was like, oh, these guys are both great wrestlers with boxing. Who's going to be the best out of them? It was like Chad, Frankie had the same styles, were in that top 3 of the UFC featherweight division pretty much since it started, and Volkanovski was like the new version coming through. Will he be able to beat him? And yeah, he smashed Chad Mendes. But then when he fought Aldo, it shocked everyone that he beat Aldo on the feet. And then since then, he's primarily stood on the feet with people. Beat Max Holloway 3 times on the feet. Beat Brian Ortega mostly on the feet, but there was all that fucking ground and pound as well. And beat Chan Sung Jung mostly on the feet, but also took him down a bunch of times, pounded him on the ground too. So this new narrative that has just come into place, that Volkanovski is a striker only and not a wrestler, is insane. He's a very good wrestler. And he's especially good at getting back up when you take him down. So yes, we haven't seen Volkanovski fight someone as good a wrestler as Islam. Islam hasn't fought anyone nearly as good at striking as Volkanovski. Yeah, Charles knocked a bunch of people out, but he also gets clipped a lot. He's also wild and leaves himself open. Volkanovski is extremely disciplined and extremely smart in how he goes about his stand-up and his entire game. So, look, the biggest thing about this fight is no one knows exactly how it can go because there are huge intangibles because both guys have not fought guys like each other before. So anyone saying they know what's going to happen is full of crap because there's no way to know that. What we do know is Volk has a way better record against better people and is a 390 underdog. Put your money on Volk. All right, there's that one done. Move on to the co-main event. Now, we've got Emmett versus Rodriguez. This one, I'm seeing the value on Emmett. He's, as I said before, he's at 253. Rodriguez is at 152. I am leaning to Rodriguez winning this fight, but I don't think 152 is good enough value for you to put head-to-head money on him. If you're going to put money on him, maybe throw him on a multi. Emmett, I'm not going to put head-to-head money on him for one big reason. I think his best path to victory is wrestling, but the thing is, he never wrestles. He's got good wrestling, but he just chooses not to wrestle. Now, can he beat Rodriguez on the feet? Yes. Rodriguez is great on the feet. He's got a lot more range, and he's great at throwing strikes from distance, but he doesn't control that distance too much. He lets shorter guys with shorter reach get inside on him and hit him. I did hear in the countdown, because, you know, the Mexican styles take a hit to give a hit, and he's going to try not to do that as much. So maybe, let's see that. But judging on the only thing we can is what we've seen in the past, he does allow himself to get hit a bit. And Emmett has a lot of power. That right hand, one shot, knockout power, no questions about it. But if they're going to stand on the feet, I am still leaning Rodriguez because he has so much more versatility. He does have that range. And Emmett, I don't even remember where I was going with that. But in terms of Emmett on the feet, he is very good. The Cater fight, I thought, watching live, that Cater won, but I thought it was close enough that it could go either way. On a rewatch recently, I thought Emmett won. It basically came down to the first round, how you scored that. And it was, you got to look at the old scoring criteria that says immediate impact outweighs cumulative impact. Cater was landing more strikes, Emmett was landing the heavier strikes. So I gave it to Emmett, but it still could have gone either way. But the fact that he stood with Cater for 5 rounds and won over 5 rounds shows that he does have very good stand-up. He doesn't have to wrestle, so he could still win on the feet, but I'm not confident enough in him winning on the feet. If he chose to wrestle, I'd be saying back him all day. But I watched 5 or 6 of his fights in the lead up to this to do the scouting, and I saw him shoot 1 takedown. He's got good wrestling when he tries to use it, And he did some good work on the ground, but it was usually after knocking guys down. And that was the point I was trying to make with striking before, or maybe not, because I was trying to make a point about Rodriguez. But anyway, but what I will say about Emmett is he knocks guys down in pretty much every fight he has. So he is very dangerous. I still am not confident enough at 253 to put head-to-head money on him. Like I said, if he utilised his takedown game, his wrestling game, I'd be saying put it on it, but I don't think he's going to wrestle in it. So I'm just steering clear of this one. But if you want my advice, if you are going to put money on it, put it on Emmett. Unless you're doing in a multi, then maybe you can see some value in Rodriguez. But look, you could also put Emmett on a multi and just chalk it up even more. So yeah, basically what I'm saying is I'm picking Rodriguez to win, but the value is on Emmett. Next fight I want to talk about, well, as I said before, I'm not seeing a huge amount of value up and down this card. There's a lot of Aussies on the card and they're favourites, and I think they should be, but they're kind of too heavy favourites to have good value on them. They're all around like between 130 and 140, and almost anyone at that range, I'm like, ugh. Unless you're like, this is the Tightass tipping show. I'm trying to give you ways to make big money off little stakes rather than, you know, something like On the Line, the UFC one, where they got $1,000 to play with, and you know they're trying to squeeze $100 or $200 profit out of 1,000 and be like, oh, that's a success. I mean, it is technically, because you're coming out on top. Anytime you don't lose money, you're doing well. But I'm here for value, and all these Aussies that are at like 130 something and whatnot, look, maybe put them on multis, but the head-to-head value just isn't there. Where I do see value, and people might hate me for saying this as an Aussie, is on Randy Brown. I do think Jack Della Maddalena is going to win, but Randy Brown is at 366. 366. And he's got so much more experience in the UFC. His last fight, he beat Francisco Trinaldo. I am a huge Masaranduba fan. If you can beat that man, you are legit. He's beat a bunch of other people. I messed up by not having my phone here with me right now to look through the record, but I looked at it before. It has got Masaranduba. It's got guys like Brian Barberina. Like, he's beat legit dudes. Jack has had some good wins. Danny Roberts is no joke. Ramazan Ameev is no joke. And Jack looked untouchable against him. Like, his boxing technique, it may be the best pure boxing I've ever seen in the UFC. But Randy Brown at 366, and what I didn't mention before is Randy Brown's height and his length. We haven't seen Jack have to deal with that before. How is he going to deal with it? We don't know. I'm picking Jack to win. I'm not putting money on this. But if you're looking for value on the card, Randy Brown at 366 is good value. And if you're an Aussie like me and you want Jack to win, or if you're just a Jack fan and you want him to win, sometimes it's good to bet against the guy you want to win, because then if he loses, you still feel good about it. You still made money. So if you're looking for value, I say Randy Brown. Unless, like I said, you want to put Jack on a multi, because one more time, this is the third time I've said it, I do pick Jack to win, but at $1.29 against Randy Brown, the head-to-head value is not there. Now, one Aussie with some good head-to-head value-ish is Jimmy Crute, but that's at 151. Even that's not fantastic value. Where I am seeing some good value on Jimmy Crute is the submission. $4. $4 for Jimmy Crute by submission. Alonzo Menafield, got great takedown defense, never been subbed before. And he has fought some guys with good subs. Paul Craig, Misha Serkinov, who subbed Jimmy Crute. So you're saying, Dom, you're crazy. These guys couldn't sub him. Why should Jimmy? One, The Misha Serkinov that fought Alonzo Menafield is a very different Misha Serkinov than the one who fought Jimmy Crute. And the Paul Craig fight, if I recall correctly, didn't really get much grappling in it. Like, Menafield basically, like, smashed him on the feet. And that happens to Paul Craig sometimes, especially at the time that Paul Craig fought him. Paul Craig was dangerous then, but he was a lot more susceptible to getting run over by, especially by not the best competition. He's kind of come into himself a lot better recently. And let's not forget, Jimmy Crute also submitted Paul Craig. And the reason I see value in Jimmy's submissions, because he's got such fantastic submissions. He really does. He can knock guys out. Definitely. But I just see him as more of a submission threat. And if he can get Menafield down, and he doesn't have to take him down, he can knock him down as well. If he knocks him down, I see him jumping on a submission more than I see him trying to pound him out. And at $4, that is good value. So, where am I saying to put my money? Hey, it's the Tightass tips. I usually try to keep it to around $50. And I usually try to find one underdog to put around 30-ish on that'll win all your money back, and then a few multis to like bulk that up. Not this time. This time, Volkanovski is such great value, I'm just saying put $50 on Volkanovski. $50 on Volkanovski at $3.90 is $195 return. That's $145 profit. Do that. There's my tip. The one other, I'm putting $10 on Jimmy Crute by submission. $4, there's an extra $40. $60, if Jimmy gets the submission and Volk doesn't win, you lose 20. If they both lose, you lose 60. But if they both win, what is it? 235 off 60. That's a pretty good return. And to be honest with you, I'm keeping my bets low like that because this is the Tightass tipping show. Personally, I have put $360 on Volkanovski at different times as since the odds first came out and as they've changed and whatnot. One of those was a multi. Had Chris Curtis, Ilya Topuria, both legs won. Then it had Shavkat Rakhmonov, Robert Whittaker, both legs voided. And then Alex is the last one on it. So that one was $10 and it'll pay off $120 if Alex wins. The other one was a head-to-head bet. I put $50 on last night when he was at $4. He was at $4 last night. He was at $4.10 earlier in the week. But he's down to $3.90 now. And the last one was it started as a multi, Rob and Alex $300 to win $1,500. Rob fight came off, so now it's just Alex on his own to win about $1,200. So if you want to completely follow me, you can't because I had those bets. But if you want to, like I had, the multi bets and stuff from the past, and the odds have changed on the $50 one. But if you want to, have more juice to your money than just the $50 thing, just throw whatever you feel is appropriate on Volkanovski. Like, Jesus. I'm not saying he's destined to win, but I'm saying this is the best in all the time. Like, I've been betting on MMA fights since about 2015, 2016. I've been hardcore into MMA since about 2005. And I only came across betting because a mate of mine was a big betting head, and he told me that's when I got into it in 2015, 2016. I have never seen value as good as this. Never. And I'm always trying to spot value. Volkanovski at $3.90 is the best value I've ever seen. Jump on it. Thanks for listening. See you later.